There's no doubt about how much Americans love movies. $6.54 billion was spent on movie tickets in 2022. But have we stopped for a minute to consider what we are spending our money on? In elementary school, we all learned about the structure of a story, or in this case, a movie. You have the introduction, exciting incident, rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution. But what I don't remember learning about was examining the influence movies have on our culture, ideas, and lives. Think about the last time you watched a movie. What was the general plot? Take the famous Christmas movie Die Hard, for example. Have you ever contemplated John and Holly McClane's marriage and why it's in shambles? Or the kids' movie Sing, where all the men in the movie are either in prison or mentally and emotionally absent. Or even deeper, in Shawshank Redemption, when Red is reading a letter left by Andy Dufresne. Hope is a good thing, maybe the best of things, and no good thing ever dies. Hope in what? And how do we know that it's truly good for it to never die? We watch movies well as a practice to carry this over into our daily lives. Because we agree with Andy. Hope is a good thing, but he's a person.
All right, now we're back. I think I got it. There we go. All right, we are back. So we're testing some equipment. We're hanging out, and I got my buddy Corey here with me. Corey. Let's try this again. All right. Check. Hit me, Corey.
Yeah, man. I can hear you. You sound great. So
Okay, now we're back. Cool.
cool.
So I had to go back in and reapply all the audio stuff that I did before we got on. I don't know why it cut it off. But thanks, Steve. Appreciate you, buddy. Got Steve Cruz in the comments.
Steve.
What a
what's up?
guy.
Yeah,
What a
man.
guy. I got to fix the delay too. It's super delayed for us. Let's see.
So while you're figuring out the delay, I'm going to tell you, we watched kids were interested in seeing Nightmare Before Christmas for the first time. And I've watched it, I don't know, a dozen times probably over the years. My wife's never been a big fan, but the kids wanted to see it, at least the two oldest kids. And I got to say, watching it now as kind of a, you know, reformed pastoral guy, I saw it differently. And it was pretty interesting to see it through that lens. Like it just, I don't think Tim Burton had anything that I saw in mind, and that's okay. But here I am watching Jack Skellington take something as beautiful as what he sees as Christmas. This very beautiful thing, the lights and the pageantry and the cheer and the goodwill, and because he is Jack Skellington, and he is, I talked about this in my sermon yesterday. Actually, I used it as an example. That the lost can only ever mimic on their best day. They can only ever mimic what they're seeing in Christianity, and just like Jack Skellington does in that film, they make it grotesque. So here he tries to become Santa Claus, and he tries to take over Christmas, but it's not Christmas anymore. And instead of toys, kids open boxes and they get like these shrunken heads, and and it's all this just macabre, really deformed version of Christmas. And then he kind of goes through his apostasy phase, where he's like, forget it, I can't be Santa Claus, and we can't, I'm the Pumpkin King, I'm Jack Skellington. So he kind of apostatizes from his whole concept of taking over Christmas, and then goes back to being, if I'm going to be me, then I'm going to be the best version of me possible. And I was like, wow, I've never seen it through those lenses. But it honestly made me appreciate a movie kind of in a new way, that I've seen, like I said, a dozen times at least, and kind of see it with fresh eyes for the first time. And I was like, man, there's definitely some themes there that I think could be explored.
Yeah, for sure. I'd love to have you back on. We could do a Christmas movie. That'd be a lot of fun. See, I'm just kind of going through here and checking all of this. So YouTube is way behind. So I'll have to figure out how to time that up a little better. But Steve says he's not a fan of the border. Yeah, this took me like 5 minutes to put together. So I just needed a stand-in border background. I've got a better idea. It takes me a little bit to make that other idea. So that'll be a lot better, Steve. But appreciate the criticism, brother. Your episode with Steve was really good.
That's because Steve made it easy. Basically, I'm only as good as whoever I'm on with. It's just, if I have someone sitting across from me that's entertaining and well spoken and has a brain, they make me look way better than I actually am. So
yeah, for sure. I want to know what happens if I do this. Aha, cool. See, multiple angles.
Yeah.
Check that out. See, we're getting fancy over here. Got the camera over there, and then I gotta go back to this camera over here. Getting fancy.
Look at that.
All right. So yeah, so we're just testing equipment on this live stream. For those of you that are tuning in, I don't know how many people are tuning in, but we're just testing stuff out, and we are Um, trying to figure out how to stream to two places at one time. We've got new cameras, we got new stuff, so new production equipment. And before we do something for reals, like, important stuff, we wanted to make sure that we had a grasp on how to work everything. So, and to be honest, it's really difficult to.
Go ahead.
No, sorry, I was just gonna say it's really difficult to operate a mixer, a video switcher, and a computer all by yourself, and run the stream. So we gotta figure out how to optimize everything. So
That's why he's got Vindicated Productions. brought to you by Vindicated
brought to you
Productions.
by. Oh, here, let's try this real quick. Here, I'm gonna.
We've all been there. You've been inspired by a new creative idea, but you've got 3 videos in the queue that need to be edited by the deadline. Or deciding to hire a full-time editor can feel like throwing money at the wall after salaries, benefits, and equipment. It could leave you frustrated and be a burden on your content schedule when editing stacks up. We want to help you bridge the gap. It's really simple. Log into your dashboard, sync cloud drives, and send us your raw files. And we'll do the rest. Worried about the final cut? With our 2 unlimited plans, you don't have to worry about revisions. We'll do it until it's right. We keep you in the driver's seat as content creation depicts the creator. Log into your project management dashboard via Notion for direct, instant communication and watch your project reach each phase of editing until completion. You create, and we just do the work. Vindicated Productions, removing the burden from content creation.
And we are back with the live stream.
Nice.
So we ran the commercial. That worked really well. The audio worked, I think. Steve, if you're still on, everything work okay?
So I am going to live stream on Civically Minded on Inauguration Day.
Oh,
So
there you go.
Yeah, man. That's kind of in my wheelhouse, and that will be the first official live stream that I am kind of doing and pulling off.
Yeah.
God willing.
God willing.
If I
You think President-elect Donald Trump is going to make it until Inauguration Day?
Yeah, I think I think he's got work to do, and the good Lord is going to, and I don't honestly, if the left is so insane as to think that the vice president elect is a better option for them, God love them, because I mean, I don't think that they would prefer a JD Vance presidency to a Donald Trump presidency.
Just you think JD Vance to the right of Trump? Is that what you're saying?
I think he is. I think JD. I had said on my own channel he wouldn't have been my first choice, and I've had to walk that back a little bit. He's been a stronger choice than I expected him to be. I mean, he's got some problems. Don't get me wrong. He's he says he's Catholic, and I have no reason to think that he's not. But he's married to a Hindu. There's some pictures from their wedding where he did some, I mean, full on syncretism. With some of the religious stuff like the head dots and the and I think Christians need to be very cautious about that type of syncretism. And obviously he's unequally yoked.
Yeah, for sure.
Doesn't mean that his wife's not a sweet lady. I'm sure she is, but it's not like Christ didn't have quite a bit to say about getting yourself into a unequally yoked marital relationship. So I mean, he's got some issues, but I do think he's a very savvy politician, and I do think he's pretty conservative.
Yeah,
and he's young. I think there's something to be said, and I'll give Trump credit. Trump has really surrounded himself in this second administration so far. With a lot of his cabinet picks and the people that he's bringing on to be orbiting his world are considerably younger than himself. So I think he's really seeing the handwriting on the wall, knowing that, this is the last, not just, obviously you can't be president more than twice. We changed that after FDR. but um, but I think he knows that beyond just being president for a second time, he's going to be at an age at the end of this term that, you know, he's kind of aging out at that point, even from just much involvement. Um, so I think he's wisely setting up some younger folks to kind of carry the baton.
Do you think that we're gonna have too many all stars, like vying for the glory, or do you think that they're all gonna fall in line and work together as a cohesive unit? What do you think?
I think with Trump, because he's such a gigantic personality, and he is so used to being in charge,
You're
kind of big man on
fired.
top. You know, I think as long as Trump's involved, yes, they're gonna understand that, and I think he's gonna run this administration very differently than he did the first go around, because I
Okay.
think he learned a lot of the the folks to the right of me, and boy, you have to work hard to be to the right of me because I'm pretty darn right. Um, but there are folks that, you know, just couldn't vote for him for a myriad of reasons and yada yada yada. And I've talked about that ad nauseum on other people's shows, on my own channel.
You and
Um,
everybody else.
yeah, so I'm certainly not going to get into the people like that. That's fine. Um, I actually had at least one presidential vote for me. My older brother wrote me in as a candidate in Tennessee. So
Oh,
so
nice.
Corey Wing for U.S. president. Um,
You have my
my
vote.
that's you know, I don't want the job, but you know, that's thank you to my brother. But
That's awesome.
but I do think that the one thing that people to the right of me have missed is they're pretending or acting as if Donald Trump can't learn, you know, and I don't mean that just about Donald Trump, other than that's who we're talking about. I mean, this is true of almost any human being. People do learn, you know, they learn from their past, they learn from their mistakes, they learn from their successes, you know, and I think Donald Trump learned a lot from his first administration. Um, he learned a lot that, you know, just because someone has an R by their name doesn't mean that they're on his side. Um, so I think he is surrounding himself this time with people that are going to be a lot more uh, in lockstep with his vision and with just him personally. And everyone can act like, oh, that makes him a tyrant, or that makes him some kind of you know, dictatorial whatever. Let's not pretend like this doesn't happen. You know, I mean, it's not like Biden picked a bunch of people that weren't in line with his agenda. I mean, Biden picked a whole cabinet full of it's and, you know, men that pretended to be women and women that wished they were men and other shims that that were in lockstep with the Biden agenda. So I mean, this is nothing new. It's if anything, it's pretty new for Republicans. Republicans are usually the ones that just love to snatch defeat out of the jaws of victory. But Democrats are really solid at this. They've surrounded themselves with, you know, party adherence for decades. It's why they've been kicking the crap out of us for so long. So I mean, if we've actually learned something, kudos to us because it took us decades to learn.
Yeah, for sure. Hey guys, I actually forgot to turn the chat on, and if you guys want to just shoot me a tweet or whatever, we'll answer questions. Or you can head to YouTube, and the chat on YouTube's live. So my fault. Just forgot to turn the chat on, and it won't let me go back in and edit it to turn it on now at this point. And we're only gonna stream for another maybe 10 minutes because Corey's got to go.
I
Um,
got swim lessons.
you got
I
swim
mean,
lessons. Yeah, be sure to go follow Corey over on Civically
imagine
Minded.
imagine this and a swimming onesie.
If you want to see Corey in a swimming onesie, go follow him on Twitter at Civically Minded. And if you do not want to see him in a onesie, follow me at Real Parker Brown on Twitter, X, whatever we're calling it these days. But yeah, no, I'm super interesting to see like what's gonna happen. Do you think we're gonna see riots? Do you think what do you think we're gonna see, Corey?
Uh, I mean, you know, lefty's gonna lefty.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was
I
about
mean,
to say.
so yeah, they're gonna there's gonna be, you know, whether it's the pink hats again or, you know, of course people that are moving to Canada or to England or any other socialist utopia that they're currently saying they're going to move to. And my advice is, you know, start a GoFundMe. We'll help you get there. You know, I mean, Tom Hanks or, you know, any of you other psychopaths that want to, you know, take your ball and go home, by all means, take your ball and go home. You know, I
Yeah.
wish you'd have left 10 years ago. You haven't added anything to the conversation in a long time because you all talk from the same mouth, you know. So I mean, stop having your blue-haired writers write your tweets and everything else. Have the gonads to say something that's an original thought, or go on and go to Canada. You know, I mean, there's a guy there running the country that you must certainly like better, though he's done blackface 19 times.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I mean, it's stop saying what you're going to do and go do it.
Right.
You
For
know,
sure.
but yeah, I do think that there will be some kind of um, bought and paid for, Soros funded, you know, something in the bluest, craziest cities in America. You know, the Seattles and the Minneapolises and those types of places. Because why wouldn't there be? You know, I mean, the mayors and the governors of those blue cities and the blue states have already come out. Pardon me, and the executive branch. Um, in modern times, that's a big deal. I mean, 35, 40 years ago, electoral college victory like what we just saw wasn't as big of a blowout as it would be now. But nowadays, this was a blowout. You know, I mean, and you have to say that's a mandate from the people to stop the woke DEI insanity. You got to stop the LGBTQ trans, you know, girls and boys are all the same, and you know, let's put some demonic tranny. That one photo that floats around the internet from time to time of some tranny that's got like this crazy almost demonic face paint and like these horn things coming out, you know, and they're sitting there reading to kids. And I'm like, what parents? I mean, I get why the demon you know, acts like a demon. Yeah, again, lefty's got a lefty and demon's got a demon. But what parents are letting their kids sit at the feet of this, you know, I mean, and act like, yeah, it's probably safe. You know, I mean, so the Lake and Rileys and all of that stuff, people are sick of it. You know, they're tired of seeing, you know, America just toss down the crapper just so that somebody's agenda can be realized, and you know, and then go into $36 trillion of debt to do it. So
Yeah, for sure. So, you know, you've got it's 2:42, and I want to get you out of here. But one more question, real quick.
yeah.
How long do you think it'll take Trump turn the economy around? You think it's going to take a year, 2 years, 4 years? Right as he leaves, we usher in maybe JD Vance for, you know, succession to Donald Trump. What do you think in terms of timing?
I think we'll see some real significant um, changes within the first 12 months. It's a big boat to turn around. So I mean that the rudder is doing stuff, but that ship is awfully massive. So I do think, especially if the Department of Government Efficiency, go Doge, if the Department of Government Efficiency actually is realized, and he turns loose the hounds of war, you know, Vivek and Elon and others, um, to just wholesale start cleaning house. You know, I mean, just eradicate certain departments altogether and then trim other departments down to, you know, 30% of their current bureaucratic balloon. um then we'll start to see stuff even quicker. But I think a year is
A year,
realistic. I think you're going to start seeing things in a year.
and then everybody's talking about the income tax with the tariffs. What do you think?
Go back and read history. This country was completely supported and funded by tariffs for the first 120, 140. I mean, for a long time, for over 100+ years, this country was completely run off of tariffs. That was the way that we funded everything at the federal level for the first 100+ years of our nation's history. No one remembers history and no one studies it anymore. But that's what we did for years. It was only after the Depression and FDR and all of the social engineering that came from that, in the form of welfare state and all of that, that we said, well, now we're offering too much stuff and we need more income. The income tax, of course, started, as well as the death tax, to fund the war efforts, both in World War I and World War II, with the idea that they'd be rescinded after the war was over. Obviously, that never happened. And so here we are, almost, well, over 100 years later from World War I, and coming up on 100 years in not too distant future, 80 years at least, on World War II. And we're not only has income tax not been taken back and rescinded, it's just continued to explode. So at my wife and I's level, we had an accountant tell us a few years back that when you added in income tax, property tax, sales tax, all the other just nickel and dime taxation, and he said that I'm not even going to add inflation, because he said
Right.
once you put inflation in, it's a totally, then you're really going to be depressed. He said, I'm talking about stuff that just comes out of your pocket. He said, you're probably, the average American is probably at somewhere between 60 and 65% of your income immediately is taken from your pocket before you ever see it. You add inflation on top of that, you're probably at 70, somewhere between 70 and 80%. And so when you wonder why you can't make, ends meet at the end of the month, oh, that's
That's why.
because you're being bled dry.
That's why. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right. So we've got about 41 people watching on X. Tell them where they can find you and what you do.
Yeah, I run a channel called Civically Minded. I do practical theology for everyday life. I am a pastoral intern in the PCA. Work at Shearer Presbyterian Church in Mooresville, North Carolina. You can go online to www.civiccallyminded.com, and there are links to my socials there. I have a YouTube channel, and I'm on X, Insta, Facebook, yada, yada, yada.
You got a website?
www.civiccallyminded.com, and make sure you spell it right. CIVECC for ecclesiology, CIVECCLY, minded.com.
All right. And then, as you guys know, I'm Parker, host of the Watch Well podcast, where we review movies through the lens of truth, and we want to re-engage or put to death the passive consumption of entertainment, and re-engage viewers to take back entertainment and lay it at the feet of Christ, because you cannot enjoy story unless you know Jesus, or at least you can't justify it, right? You can't justify story unless Christ is at the heart of it. So I want to thank all of you guys for checking us out. Corey, thanks again for hopping on. Let me work through some of this stuff. I know you got to get to swim lessons. So yeah, we'll check you guys later.
See you, bud. Bye.